Journey, it's a work in progress. Story 80. Having a second chance at life can be transformative. When you're in the darkest part of your life, feeling depressed and angry at the world, it can be easy to give up and feel as though you want to retreat. It's challenging to find motivation when you feel you've lost everything you care about, but life continues. Story 81. I struggled to conceive and spent a lot of time reading about other women's experiences with polycystic ovary syndrome and endometriosis. I felt so bad for them and was grateful that I didn't have those issues. I was so sure of this that when my fertility doctor did an ultrasound of my ovaries and said, "Wow, those are some classic polycystic ovary syndrome ovaries," I immediately responded, "Oh, I don't have polycystic ovary syndrome. Turns out I had both." Story 82. Going back to school, working full-time, and dealing with skin cancer has been challenging. I have a 3.5 GPA and had to undergo immunotherapy 4 months after being cancer-free before the cancer returned. I didn't think I would manage, but I am. Story 83. I never thought I would achieve recovery from my eating disorder. I haven't slipped up in a year and a half, and I am committed to ensuring I do not relapse. Story 84. I never thought anyone I knew would die by suicide. Then my sister passed away, and a few years later, my high school sweetheart and best friend also died. Story 85. I never thought I would lose my father at such a young age. My friend's father passed away when she was 12. I felt so bad for her and couldn't imagine losing my dad so young. A few years later, I lost mine. I was 15 and he was only 38. Story 86. First, I thought I would never become an addict. Then, after I became one, I thought I could never get sober. Thankfully, I was wrong. Story 87. Living to be 53, I figured that the way I was growing up, I would have either earned a Darwin Award or taken my own life. Story 88. I never thought I would move to Estonia in 4 days without any long-term plans. 1 minute, I was relaxing in my comfort zone, and the next, I was booking a one-way ticket. I had no job lined up, no place to stay, just a mix of excitement and mild panic. Story 89. I always thought I would die young, like before the age of 25. It wasn't anything dramatic like substance abuse or depression. It was just a feeling. I felt like I didn't know enough people who died young, so I was going to be the one to die young. Story 90. Being in a rollover car accident, getting divorced, turning 30, dealing with multiple chronic illnesses, and being administered naloxone during surgery due to an overdose of fentanyl. Story 91. Burnout was not taken seriously. I believed it was like an electric allergy. It turns out that individuals on the autism spectrum with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder are at a high risk. I honestly thought I was sick and dying. 8 years later, I still feel like my brain is only operating at 70% capacity. Story 92. Finding love and marrying my best friend. I'm really struggling with mental health. I had to quit my job and start over. Story 93. Making it to 30. I had been planning to die by 25 ever since I was a teenager. My mother passed away when I was 7, and my father followed shortly after, being shot 29 times by police 10 months and 3 days later. On a positive note, I found love and had a child. I have been with my husband for over a decade now. Having his child made me want to stay alive. Story 94. Practically everything in my life did not go the way I thought it would. I never imagined I would stay in an abusive relationship, but I did so 3 times. I never thought I would be a victim of sexual assault. I never expected to develop a chronic, debilitating illness. I never thought I would accept a life where I am not an artist. But I also never thought I would live to be 25. I was certain I would have died by suicide a long time ago. I am now 32. Story 95. My best friend passed away right in front of me. I have her ashes in my house, and sometimes something will happen that reminds me of things she did when she was alive. I have experienced many days where I feel comfort. Story 96. Getting a job. It's been 2 years since graduation, and I thought that was just a theory, but here I am. Story 97. I was the victim of a mugging and beaten near death, sustaining a traumatic brain injury that destroyed my life. A week before the COVID-19 lockdown started, I was attacked and sucker punched while waiting for a ride outside a bar. My head cracked as my body fell back onto the sidewalk. That was the worst of the head trauma. They continued to hit me, stripped me of my valuables, and ran off. The last thing I remember was calling the ride from inside the bar. I woke up in the hospital and couldn't balance, but as soon as I could support myself enough for them to put me in a wheelchair, I was taken home. I couldn't walk, so for the next week, I crawled around on my hands and knees to navigate my apartment. I endured the last month of my lease there, experiencing terrible symptoms like widespread pain, intense sensitivity to light, constant migraines, and even after getting off my knees, I'd randomly lose my balance. My short-term memory was almost non-existent. I would end up in my kitchen not knowing how or why I got there. My company was in the live event space, and 85% of employees were laid off a couple of weeks after my mugging, including myself. I may have otherwise been retained, but they included me in the layoffs to avoid being responsible for my health issues. Employment lawyers thought I had a case in normal circumstances, but nothing was sticking with the pandemic-related